You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
And Cliff, let's be real clear. When Dr. King and others were pressing President Lyndon Baines Johnson, it didn't matter that he was a Democrat. They made it clear they expected him to act. They expected him to move. Last night at this town hall that took place on CNN, this is what President Joe Biden had to say about the filibuster that did not sit well with you and a lot of other people.
I would go back to that where you have to maintain the floor. You have to stand there and talk and hold the floor. You can't just say it.
I understand that. But what difference is that if you hold the floor for, you know, a day or a year, what difference does it make? Here's the thing for me. You talked about people, and this is important for people who look like me. My grandmother would sit around when I was a kid, 5th grade, had a 5th grade education. I learned that she couldn't read when I was doing my homework. She would tell me stories about people asking her to count the number of jelly beans in the jar, or the soap. And so why is protecting the filibuster, is that more important than protecting voting rights, especially for people who fought and died for that?
No, it's not. I want to see the United States Congress, the United States Senate, pass S1 and S4, the John Lewis Act, get them to my desk so I can sign them. But here's the deal. What I also want to do, I want to make sure we bring along not just all the Democrats, we bring along Republicans who I know better. They know better than this. And what I don't want to do is get wrapped up right now in the argument whether or not this is all about the filibuster or, look, the American public, you can't stop them from voting. You tried last time. More people voted last time than any time in American history in the middle of the worst pandemic in American history. More people did. And they showed up. They're going to show up again. They're going to do it again. But what I want to do is I'm trying to bring the country together. And I don't want the debate to only be about whether or not we have a filibuster or exceptions to the filibuster or going back to the way the filibuster had to be used before.
But isn't that the only way you're going to get it done right now?
No, I don't believe that. I think we can get it done.
Cliff, this is what you tweeted. In this response, Biden demonstrates at least 3 things. 1, he didn't actually believe a word he said in his passionate speech last week about how dire the current voter suppression is. The entire speech was a lie. He expects community activists, particularly black activists, to simply recreate the Herculean effort that it took to mobilize voters in 2020 and the 2021 Georgia runoff, and to do so in spite of historic new voter suppression. He lied when he said he'd have our backs. 3, he tells Don Lemon a blatant lie when he says the GOP votes are there, mimicking Joe Manchin, who is also lying. If you couldn't get a single vote to investigate January 6th, you're not getting 10 votes for voting rights. He's either lying or insane. My money is on lying.
Yeah, Roland, and let me say this right off the top, just as a side note, I want to give some, credit and acknowledgement to Don Lemon, who did what a lot of journalists don't often do, right? He pushed the question a couple of different times, even after the original question from the member of the audience, really pushing the president to elaborate on the answers. And in that elaboration, he was really exposing himself in terms of his position on the filibuster, his position on voting rights, and his position in regards to the black community that he said he would have our backs. And we now see in our moment of need that he doesn't have our backs. There's so much that he said there, even just watching the replay, it makes me upset just to hear him say, the Republicans that I know better. Who are those Republicans that you know?
Name them.
Yeah, name them, right? I mean, if I'd be glad to say that I was wrong to say that he was lying. If he can name the 10 that he has, I'll even give him an out. You don't even have to tell me the 10 that you've got confirmed votes for. Tell me the 10 that you're targeting. Tell me the 10 that has given you some indication that they might actually vote this way on voting rights. Tell me the 10 people who refused to investigate January 6th, but that you think is somehow going to support a voting rights bill. Tell me who those 10 are, right? And then I'll believe you in the things that you say about how you believe that the votes are out there. But until you can show me that or show me some reason on why you expect that, all I can assume, and I think all that black voters can assume, is that you are simply not telling us the truth when you say that you're going to have our backs, that you're not telling us the truth when you say that this is the biggest attack against voting rights that we've seen since the Civil War. You can't have it both ways. You can't, on the one hand, say that voting rights are sacred, but then on the other hand, worship at the altar of the filibuster. You can't serve both guys. You can't have it both ways. You've got to pick a side. That's what we were demanding with our actions today with the brothers. That's what the sisters were demanding last week. That's what we're going to continue to demand as we continue a campaign of nonviolent direct action and civil disobedience.
See, Wes, I'm just trying to understand who are these fictitious Republicans Biden is talking about. The reality is this here. The Senate that he knows when he was there, that don't exist anymore. It does not exist. So this whole idea of, oh, no, they believe in it. No, let's be clear. When it came to reauthorizing the Voting Rights Act, there was a point where Democrats and Republicans voted for it. But it was after that Shelby v. Holder decision in 2013 where the Republican Party says, we leaving that bullshit behind and we are not supporting it again.
Right.
You had a Wisconsin Republican who repeatedly offered a reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act. It was very weak. He could not get more than 10 Republican co-sponsors. Couldn't get it. And now, right now, oh, they ain't supporting Jack. So I don't know what the hell Joe Biden is talking about of these magical Republicans that seem to exist that nobody has met.
You know, I just want to say, Roland, I've been receiving text messages from someone. One, your show is definitely being watched. I just received some text messages from someone, a high-ranking official within the Biden administration. And their response was they believe in the direct action in which we're taking. But their belief is that, or excuse me, it is a belief that if we end the filibuster now, that the infrastructure bill will die and we need all of it. My position, specifically in regards to what you just alluded to and also what Brother Cliff just alluded to, if we put our faith in these Republicans and specifically these white folk who have consistently shown us that they don't care about us, we're going to get what we always got. I'm furthermore disappointed that the president has chosen this position in which he is playing nice with his old friends over the Senate, over the values of people who put him in the administration. But I can't say that I'm surprised. And I think now it is important and imperative for all of us, specifically Black folk, Latino folks, Asian folk, but we know what we're going to do, to continue to hold the line and be very defiant in regards to, defiant as well as very bold in regards to our position. We're not going anywhere. We know that he doesn't have 10 Republicans who will agree with this. And the fact that he's holding our position and our values, specifically when it comes to voting rights, hostage, or using it as a tactic in terms of his overall strategy to try to get a multitude of things is disappointing. But I'm not going to expect or pretend that I expected anything more from this administration, and we will continue to have direct action.
I am confused. I'm really confused on this one, Mawuli, because it was just a couple of days ago where the Republicans blocked Schumer on a vote on the infrastructure bill.
Right.
They ain't support. See, okay, so whoever the hell texts Wes, since y'all watching, let me be real clear. Mitch McConnell has already said we ain't passing none of this. Okay? They already said that. The second thing is when Biden came out and coupled reconciliation with the infrastructure bill, the so-called bipartisan bill, Republicans backed the hell off. So they ain't planning on supporting that $580 billion bipartisan deal that was struck because they're saying, oh, we're not going to support that, and then y'all going to come back with reconciliation? No, we ain't supporting neither one. But here's the other deal, okay? Why in the hell we got to sit here and wait on the damn infrastructure bill? Let me be real clear to the White House who is watching this show right now. You're not going to have a Senate majority after the 2022 election. You're not going to have a House majority after the 2022 election. Republicans right now can, as a result of the census, They can right now gerrymander a victory to take over the House solely by taking 5 seats in Florida and 5 seats in Texas. And so when Biden says, oh, they're going to come back out, no, they not. Because I'm telling you right now, the folk who came out in a pandemic to take out Trump and the Republicans, you got these white folks on the right who are hyped about critical race theory. And if y'all cannot show you are willing to fight for something, you not gonna have black people, brown people, young voters turn out in record numbers when we all know, Muali, we all know this, that in an off year, the party in power is more than likely not to maintain control. So, White House, y'all better swing and y'all better show some fight if y'all think folk gonna come out and fight for you in 22. Mawuli, go ahead. Is he still there? All right, Cliff, Mawuli, you're still there?
Yes, this is Francis Johnson. I'm sitting in for Brother Davis. He's my law partner, my colleague. We were all out with Cliff today as a part of this demonstration of our outrage, one at the Republicans and what they're doing. But you're right. It is also against the Democrats and their failure to do what they've promised. At the end of the day, black people who turn out in Georgia.
We lost that, Cliff, respond to what I just said there. We'll figure out what's going on there. We lost the signal. Cliff, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And yeah, that was Francis Johnson, who was also arrested today, chair of the board of New Georgia Project. But no, Roland, you're exactly right. You know, it's crazy to think that black voters, brown voters, and, you know, any of those voters that risked our lives, and especially black voters that risked our lives in this last election, again, not just to put Biden into the White House in November, but then to come back in the state of Georgia in the midst of the pandemic, in the midst of winter, you know, right during the holidays, to come back out, risking our lives, and then to give him the Senate that he would need to push his agenda. If they don't move that agenda, particularly in terms of issues that black folks have demonstrated that we care passionately about. We're talking about voting rights. We're talking about police violence in the George Floyd Act, right? You know, we're talking about HR 40. You know, if they don't move on these issues that black folks are expecting them to move on after we gave them the power to get some stuff done, you're not going to see the kind of turnout. And then add on to that on top of the fact that you'll have black voters that have been disillusioned, that will also be having to do this work, black organizations having to do this work in spite of historic levels of voter suppression, you can't out-organize the type of voter suppression that we're talking about. Just recently in the state of Kansas, right, where they passed a voter suppression bill, organizations are already saying that they are pulling back on their voter registration operations because of the bill that was passed in Kansas. It defines and gives a criminal charge if you pretend or you act as if you're an election official. And so that puts some of these organizations in a hard position, because if they're going out registering folks, they can, and it's worded so vaguely that just for doing something like doing a voter registration drive, you could be accused in the language of this bill as acting like you're an election official. And these organizations are saying, you know what, we can't even go out and register folks right now because of the voter suppression bills. You're seeing that in state after state after state. You can't out-organize that. You got to have some federal legislation to deal with that. And so you'll have both of these issues that we're confronting: voters that are disillusioned because they didn't see the kind of fight that you're talking about, Roland. And then on top of that, organizations that are dealing with a new ecosystem of voter suppression. That is a deadly combination, which, as you were saying, will cause Democrats to lose both the House and the Senate. And then, and regardless of what the vote looks like in 2024, you won't be able to get a Democratic president confirmed, because you'll be in a situation where they'll have the rules in where they can rig and they can overturn elections even if we get the votes out in 2024. And so it's a spiral, and it has to end now. There's got to be a fierce urgency of now in order to deal with this issue, pass the voting rights, stop the voter suppression right now. Last word, the other piece about what you said, which is very important. I met with the Texas delegation the other day, 2 days ago. They need to hear from President Biden. You are absolutely right, Roland, and Representative Green, who was out there with us briefly today, is right in that letter. The president has got to meet with that delegation. They are risking a lot. They are separated from their families. They're risking health and welfare. They're risking a lot in order to take this stance. The president at least owes them the dignity of meeting with them and discussing with them the situation that they're facing.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.